Hello, this is Wolfpack. Yeah, I want to put out a new video. It's kind of a different video. For those of you who watched my past videos, you kind of got kind of an idea what's going on. But I wanted to give you guys an update, and I also think that maybe it's time that you guys finally know the actual truth and how this all plays out. I'm going to try to make this brief. However, the fact is just the facts. These are the facts that have can and will be documented. This is also a fact of evidence that has been lost in the art of discovery. In other words, the defense has not been given these discovery items, or they have been lied to and said that they don't exist. Here are the facts. One, an individual sitting in his lazy boy watching television with his wife. This individual was recently put on the Lufkin VA to change his medication due to the fact that he was going from a military type operation to civilian community. Meds are adjusted based on the stress level and the actual diagnosis. Chronic PTSD is treated differently than mild PTSD. Anyway, I digress. While sitting watching TV with his wife, the individual noticed he was having problems with his medication. He was noticing his rapid heartbeat, his pulse was up, he was paranoid, sweating profusely. In other words, having basically a PTSD attack, feeling his life was in danger for some reason. This individual was instructed when leaving the military. Something like this happens, providing a number, which is a hotline number that veterans can call with chronic PTSD or PTSD to find out and fix the problem and get you to help. The reason why this was created because 22 soldiers or military personnel commit suicide every day. This hotline was created to prevent that. While contacting the hotline, the individual was asked questions that he couldn't remember as far as his medication, what actually was took and when it was took. This is actually a symptom of PTSD. Immediately his wife got on the phone and was explaining to the individual on the other line what was happening, what was going on, and the medications that he had been changed and put on. At this time, it was advised to this individual's wife she needed to get him to a medical hospital or a medical facility. Because the fact is they wanted to identify what the actual medication was doing and how dangerous it was to his other symptoms, but also wanted to be able to have the individual in a location where they could contact the VA representative in the morning so they could get him in to see a VA psychologist as fast as possible to change this medication. The wife was asked, can he drive? Can he travel? The answer to this question was no. His PTSD symptoms are riled. He is not going to take very kindly to the ride. He's going to freak out because of the ride because he's already in PTSD mode and he's going to be looking for Hodges and IEDs on the side of the road. And I'm responsible to have to drive him. I can't do both. The individual said, okay, where do you live? What's your zip code? We are going to send somebody out there. We're going to send an ambulance to come out and get him to the proper medical facility so we can monitor him until we can be instructed by the VA. Instead, 4 officers showed up at his door without a search warrant, while the wife was actually on the phone talking to the individual. Told the individual if these individuals entered the door with their guns drawn or their hands on their weapon or the taser drawn, and you have lights in his eyes where he cannot see, He has PTSD. He's going to react to the situation. This is exactly what happened. Mind you, the footrest up on a lazy boy was up. Those of you who have one actually know that whenever you are deploying your footrest, then there is a lever on the side to go up, go down. This individual was told by unprofessionals who had not worked together in any kind of situation as far as dealing with PTSD, escalated the situation. 3 different commands went out: put your hands up, put your hands down, put your hands behind your back. It's a joke. Do the freaking hokey pokey. Meanwhile, while this individual's trying to do this, he understands that there's weapons pointed at him. He can see they're drawn outside of their holsters. An assumption would be if they're outside their holsters, then they're off safe. This creates a threat. The individual described to the officers that he at this position could not get out of the chair successfully with the legs up. The officers didn't seem to care as they'd get up. The individual recognized just based on the tone and the actions of these officers, if he would have reached for that lever to let it down, he would not be alive here talking to you today. They would chalk it off as another suicide assisted. This individual actually tried to get up with footrest up. Of course, I don't know if you've ever done it or not, but when you try to do it, you're going to go back and forth. It's kind of hard to do, especially if you're disabled and your knees are gone and your ankles are gone and you don't have no cartilage in your knees. Well, guess what? You're going to stumble. The officers were notified 3 times. Sir, I cannot get out of this chair the way you want me to. Please allow me to put the footrest down and I can get up. No was the answer 3 times. The individual got up. As he staggered, one of the officers escalated the situation by grabbing the individual, throwing him down on the floor, face down, and he was tased twice in this position. The individual then got up because being in that state of PTSD, adrenaline pretty much takes over and you don't feel this pain as much as you used to or normally. This individual was then tased for the 3rd time, which he dropped to the floor on his buttocks. He was then accosted by police officers in the back, hands behind his neck, this fashion, with his head put in a chokehold. This individual passed out for a period of time. At this time, the individual knew, because it was me, I knew that he was killing me. This is not being over dramatic. This is not being, I'm telling you the facts. A lot of individuals like this in wrestling, when those moves were carried out, you have an opportunity to tap out. Let the person know, hey, I've had enough. This never was given to me. This option. My hands were behind my back. I could not verbally tell the officer that I could not catch my breath. I couldn't tell the officer that I was getting ready to pass out. This option was not allowed to, it was not given to me. I passed out on the floor for an undetermined amount of time. I do not know. The whole time my wife was describing the situation to the hotline's personnel. In case whoever's watching out here, yeah, I've got the tape of the conversation. All 3 officers were actually yelling at me, but I didn't know it at the time. The only thing that actually got me up off that floor was one thing, and that was my wife's voice saying, Steve, you got to get up. Steve, you got to get up. So at that point in time, I was cuffed. It gets better. I was charged with resisting arrest. However, I wasn't arrested for anything. I had done nothing wrong. There was no reason to arrest me. I was merely asking for help and doing what I was told by calling the hotline to let them help me. Unfortunately, sheriff's deputies and Huntington Police Department took that as an opportunity to escalate the system because they wanted some kicks on a boring night where they can go out and rough somebody up a little bit. That way they can go back on the radio and talk about it. You know, feel like a man. Beat the shit out of a disabled veteran. I was then put into the jail with nothing to be arrested for, but I was being detained. I don't know why, for 20 hours for resisting arrest on something that I'd never done. I never was arrested for. As you can tell already right now, I'm not dealing with a bunch of rocket scientists here. They threw me in a cell, just my flip-flops, a pair of short pants, and a t-shirt was cut off. I was sitting home relaxing, watching TV with my wife. They threw me in the cell, and it was cold. No blankets, no nothing. No hard cement floor. The issue that it's had with that is the fact is that it came to light pretty quick that hypothermia was going to set in. So doing as I trained, I curled up in a ball, forgot about my lower extremities, my toes, and my legs. Anything below my waist. I put my hands underneath my shirt. I put my shirt over my nose. I sat like this in a ball to 20 hours. And I was sitting there trying just to keep my core temperature up. To prevent hypothermia. Not to mention the fact that the medication that I was on was also causing havoc with me. You cannot believe the night that I went through on that cold floor. Having not have been arrested for nothing, just for resisting arrest. And nobody checked on me during this whole time. The next morning I was actually sent to an institution to where I actually sat in to be analyzed, which was not necessary because the fact is everybody knew, even the officers were shown and what I was diagnosed with, and even the percentage. They already knew what they were dealing with, but they wanted to be psychologically evaluated. But I worked out at the institution. I came in, VA was notified, the whole 9 yards. I did what I did, got out. There's no actually instructions from the police officers what to do. So I went home and paid no mind. I had done everything that I was supposed to do. 2 years later, to come back and find that it's still on the record resisting arrest. When asked why, the city attorney says, well, we messed up and we forgot to call the hospital to check on you and get a final answer. However, when leaving the hospital, they were giving my records. The nurse actually told me, hey, they called and requested your records, but we cannot provide it to them per HIPAA regulations. They have to get a subpoena in order by the court to actually for us to release those documents to them, and we didn't. They said they were going to get a subpoena. Come to find out, the judge would not issue them a subpoena because the fact is I never was arrested for anything. So there's no subpoena needed. However, the fact it's been over 6-7 months now, and I'm still waiting on trial. It seems that both sides are not ready. When checking into the jail, it was determined by the jailer, a lieutenant, who had noticed the scars on my back and the taser marks, and he insisted after the officer left and said, look, I'm going to get some pictures. He took pictures with another jailer that was there, noticing the tase marks and the scratches in the areas where blood was drawn on my back. Also took pictures of my neck and the force that was applied that would cause bruising all the way up from here, all the way down. Definitely results from the chokehold. He took the photos. The comment to him was, not to me, but damn. You see that? Damn. It was not anything derogatory toward me. It's just that they were reacting to what they were seeing. Now, there are photos that all suddenly disappeared. These photos, there's no record of me being in jail there. The only records that show is in the county's office, the city attorney's office. Say this was never resolved. Well, because you couldn't resolve it because there was no charge there. Main thing that no warrant, no nothing. Maintainable record. Unresolved case, I guess. It gets better in stage 2 because after getting out, I took an active role and I said I need to participate in my community to understand the mentality of these people. I went to a city council meeting and I was scheduled to speak because they were actually going to be considering a 19% across the board rate hike on the water. That would have come out to $20 per person. Mind you that they were actually going to propose this in a town where there's 20% poverty. It would affect a lot of people. But the reason why they were giving was that they needed $1.3 million to insure against the well in case it broke. That was already being repaired, but it was only in phase 1. There would be 3 phases, but there was only in phase 1. But we felt it necessary to raise $1.3 million just in case that well broke. No, we couldn't put it in a separate fund for the well fund, so in case it broke, we would just draw right out of that well fund. No, we couldn't do that. We had to put it in the general fund. That $1.3 million is gone now. It was explained by the city administrator, well, we spent it on bills. That was never the case. Well, which one was it? Was it the presentation where you swayed the city council that we needed the $1.3 million for the well? And when did it get decided that this was supposed to be spent on bills instead of the well? And who gave you the authorization to put this money into a general fund where you have access to it when it's been specified for something else? So I gave a presentation. My other major concern was they're actually giving a 19% across the board tax on water that for 12 quarters in a row, 12 quarters in a row, cannot pass state inspection because 8 contaminants were found in the water. 7 of them provide cancer, are directly linked to cancer. And they raised the rate on this. But it gets better. After my presentation, it passed, so I went back and I sat down and they actually added to an agenda, which we can do that here in Huntington. We can just add to the agenda. We don't really have to tell you what the meeting's about. We just make it up as we go. We'll put on a piece of paper, we're going to talk about this, but we're really going to talk about that. It kind of confuses the public, don't you think? Within this amendment that was going to be made up by the city administrator and the mayor, came out that little girls can't play softball. They were going to create an ordinance. Little girls can't play softball on Sundays. Now, I don't know most of these individuals, most individuals that I'm going to target with this information are going to throw up your hands and say, what? Did I hear that right? Yes, you did. Little girls cannot play softball on Sundays. It gets better because of the appearance it puts on the town, and they should be in church. Let me say that again. They should be in church. So let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, when did the state determine when your kids should be and should not be in church? When has it been determined that girls can't play softball, but little boys can? When can it be that a certain group of individuals cannot play during a certain period of time just because they're a girl? When does a city get to dictate how you run your religion of your family? What if you're Muslim and you don't play, you don't worship on Sunday? Or some other religion that, you know what, hey, I go to church at night, I don't go there on Sunday. Or my daughter plays early, she goes early, plays softball in the morning, we go to church at 10:30. The whole possibilities are endless, but anyway, it comes down to one thing: they cannot dictate. And just merely thinking that they can get away with this is a crime within itself. The 14th and 15th Amendments state that if you witness as a citizen a law being broken, especially by the government, it is your duty to recognize it and say something right then. Not later, not on a damn complaint you wait 3 days to file. Right then, when the law officers are right there in the area and they can actually hear it, so they can take action. Did they know? I simply said, you can't do that, sir. It's illegal. I gathered my gear, I gathered my notebook, I gathered my recorder, I got up, and I walked out. Normally there are 2 officers there at the meeting, but this time there was 5 because I was going to speak at the meeting. I guess they thought there was going to be some kind of freaking riot and shit. Anyway, come to ship from the form, I walked out. The officer arrested me because I said fucking bullshit before I got out the door. The outside door, the one way away from the meeting. I said fucking bullshit because I couldn't believe it. I was in accosted by this officer. Officer Denby, thrown up against the wall, put handcuffs on me, and asked him why I was being detained. He said vulgarity. I said vulgarity is not against the law, sir. I said vulgarity to one person is another man's lyric. I said I didn't use it as fighting words. I didn't use it to threaten anybody. It was just a statement that I'm allowed to do under the First Amendment. Well, he had to hem haul back and forth or whatever. Finally came back in. He got back in the foyer, and he actually was calling into his superior saying, what can I charge him with? I don't want to look bad. What can I charge him with? So I got charged with interrupting a meeting. Once again, interrupting a meeting where they haven't read the law, because in order for you to interrupt a meeting, then someone has to warn you and say, hey, you're interrupted. Shut up, sit down. Or we'll have you removed. Not arrested. We'll have you removed from the premises. No. I was actually banned from a city meeting, which you cannot do, which is illegal. I was actually taken to jail for interrupting a meeting, which took them 8 hours to figure out how to write it down. And the kicker is that they had to make a sense. They actually wrote me down a ticket for banning me from trespassing against city property. Once again, people, this mentality is what goes on in this little freaking city in the southeast Texas and actually in Angelina County. I will have more on this video because I kind of messed up my screen-o-matic here and I can't really figure out how to make it longer. But if you listen to this story, I'm going to leave a link of individuals that maybe can answer you these questions of what I have and if it actually happened that way. Many of my people that I talk to here also want to say, well, you know, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to be effective. I don't know what I can do to make a difference. Laid out in front of you is a way you can make a difference. You can call, you can email, you can actually get on the line with these sun guns and you can let them know that you are creating, that this is not done. We are going to file a federal lawsuit. We're coming after your ass just because the fact is that you think you can get away with it and you took so damn long to actually make it happen. I would much settle for an apology. But no, I didn't get that. Instead, I've got the shove it down the line and kick the can by all entities involved. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, the justice system just doesn't work for a select few. Because one time, maybe just one time, we can take solace in the fact is that one person stood up against these sumbitches and we hold them accountable. And we let them know we're not going to take it anymore and that you cannot outspend us just because we have to go hire a lawyer and you drag it out over time just to drop the case or to plead guilty. This is what's happening in real life. If you want to know about this, look me up at Huntington, Texas, Facts of Proof. If you have questions for me, please leave it in the comment section. If you have the wherewithal, I will leave the links to the individuals that you can actually contact to get questions. Trust me, every one of these are going to get this video. We've had enough, people. There are 3 cases that are going to be coming up right now at the first of the year that involve this type of behavior by our sheriff's department and our police officers of Huntington and our city council of Huntington. 3 federal cases. And they're running from each and every one. Tell me what you think. Look at the links. If you feel the need, if you feel that you need to say something about this, then please email, call, whatever you have to do. But let them know that you know what's really going on. Wolfpack out.